Adding a stream host to your church's live stream before, during, and after is a great way to increase engagement and just to add some intentionality to what you're doing for your church's online presence. It's not as easy as just throwing up a camera though, so I thought I'd walk you through our process as far as it goes with graphics, automation, cameras, and audio for our live stream hosting segments. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name's Ryland. I'm a worship and media arts pastor here at Central Baptist in Owasso, always on the hunt for budget-minded solutions for our tech ministry needs. And I think a stream host is a great way to just do things with excellence online. And we've been doing this in our live stream now for a couple of years. And this video is not sponsored by anybody except me and my live streaming course. And at the end of this video, if you stick around, I'll give you a special discount because you're somebody who obviously cares about doing great things for God's glory with your church's live stream. So in this video, I want to walk you through how we have set up our pre-stream host segments. It all kind of starts with ProPresenter. Now, before we jump into our ProPresenter setup, I just want to talk to you about what you will need as far as utilizing your overlays from ProPresenter. So if you're using a Blackmagic switcher like we are, then you're going to need something to get your graphics out of ProPresenter into your switcher. So some people will be doing that with just a single feed out of ProPresenter, and you're going to use just the Luma downstream key adjustment, so you can literally just adjust based on black and white. That's not going to get you much. You'll have to really tweak this template that I'm going to show you to make it work. Some people will try to do the same thing with chroma keying. It's just not really the best solution. What we have done is utilized a Decklink Duo to get two SDI outputs into our ATEM switcher, and then you can dedicate in the switcher software for your downstream key on the palette which one is your actual key and which one is your fill. And then it will see the transparency of gradients and all those different things and alpha channels. And then you just go in whenever you're setting that up. That's a whole different video, and tell it when it's an alpha channel. You can also kind of get away with the same thing by doing two HDMI inputs on like an ATEM Mini Extreme. That's how I run that on my live streams that I do each month. So you can try that if you have an HDMI only switcher. It does take two outputs from your computer though, if you are going to do this. So just know that going in, you do need an alpha channel to get these kind of fancier way of doing the graphics. All right, guys, let's dive into the ProPresenter side of things. Some automation, some audience looks, and how we're getting the kind of graphic overlays that you would see during our countdowns and in and out of our pre-stream host segments. So the first thing that's going to happen is that this countdown is going to play automatically every Sunday via the calendar at a certain time. So at 10:50, it's automatically going to fire this countdown. And you can see that that went ahead and played. Let me turn off my audio here. That went ahead and played a bunch of things. So our mains is playing the countdown. It's on the confidence monitor. It's in the hallways. But then on the stream, it's playing this other look. And what is happening is that this is actually just an audience look that has a certain slide layout with different graphics and things. So if we go ahead and look at our countdown overlay, let's find countdown overlay, and then we go to our lower thirds, and then let's open this up. You can see that we have two different segments here that we're going between, one with a gradient fill and the logo, and then one without, where the countdown moves up. So if I just edit this real quick here, you can see that it's just a slide that's designed here in ProPresenter. You just have a background with a gradient fill and some 50% opacity going between things on this background layer, and then the countdown is linked to our countdown, and then a logo that's a PNG, and then just a custom, I used the pen tool and just made this little shape. And then this is utilizing the current slide notes. So this is a linked text with the current slide notes, and I'll show you why in just a minute. And it is a scrolling text, and here's the speed and feathering. I'll go ahead and link this in the description. You could download this slide for free and change out your logo and change to your brand if you want. An ellipse with our logo on top. And then the second slide that I did, I moved the countdown up here and just took off the background so that way my camera feed can come into here. Okay, so now if I go back to that countdown area that automatically fires, you'll see I have 3 slides here. And the reason that I have this is, like I said, this fires automatically. And what's happening is this is a video that is actually got the countdown embedded on it with all of our slides, but it's firing this stream slide with the audience look that is also playing a separate countdown that's being triggered there. And then if we look at the slide notes, you can see you can change out the slide notes here. That's going to pull whatever announcements you want to scroll in that bottom area. Now these next 2 slides here are not for our ProPresenter operator to click, but this is actually here for our director to automatically trigger via companion buttons whenever they bring the stream host on and off. So I'll show you what's happening here, but then I'll show you again on the director side. So watch the stream whenever I click here. When we go to stream segment, it's going to that other audience look. One important thing about that is if you go into edit looks and then I go to that countdown overlay, I changed the fade time between the looks to be 1 second and then 2 seconds. And we actually found that this was actually a little long, so I'm going to bring that back to 1 second. So now, as these fade between each other, you can see that that's happening. Now, did you see those little animations? This is actually part of the builds on that audience look. So if I go in and edit that look again, so you've got some builds here that do some different things on our logo. You know, you've got a wipe and all that kind of thing. So he clicks for the stream host to come on air, and that's automatically doing this look. And then when he clicks the next button on Companion, it's going to bring on the corner camera, and it's going to go back to this look here until we get started with our opener video. So feel free to grab that presentation and then just right click and create a new theme that you can create new audience looks with. If you want to kind of customize that and make it your own, I'll leave that in the description. Now let's dive into the companion side of things back in our broadcast room and how this kind of all ties together. All right, I'm here in our broadcast closet, and we use Companion via Stream Deck to direct our 12 cameras. And so let me just walk you through that process of what's happening really before the countdown even starts with some automation and Companion, and then how our director is kind of operating and directing that pre-stream host segment with some stuff that I've already kind of pre-programmed in here in button pushes that makes all of the stuff happen in ProPresenter with graphics and makes their job really easy because we have volunteer directors week in and week out that just need this to work. Okay, so over in Bitfocus Companion, the first thing that's happening is a trigger at 10:45 that's a button push of this on-air button. So what I've done on a page here is I've got this on-air button that it is going to go ahead and get things all set up because our stream is going to start at 10:50. So it's going to set a corner cam in motion to be live. Well, it sets it on preview and then it runs it. It's going to make sure that our audio is up and running because we do some different things with audio, with video announcements. And then it's going to go ahead and make sure our downstream keyer is on, and it's going to set roamer 1, that roaming camera, to preview. And then what it's doing is it's going to play a specific slide with labels so that playlist that I showed you with that presentation where we had those 3 slides, that was our presentation countdown 10-minute. And then it's playing that 3rd slide, Stream Host done, because I don't want to play the countdown yet, which was 1st slide. So that all is happening there. And so if we just watch here, I'll go ahead and press the test button and we should see all of that set up correctly. All right, so that all happens automatically at 10:45. Now there's no countdown running yet because the countdown is not going. But this is all just kind of presetting everything so that way whenever the countdown starts automatically via the calendar in ProPresenter, all of this begins here, and then our roaming camera is set up and ready to go on preview. All right, so now let me talk about a couple of the other buttons that we've got here on this page. Basically, our operator is going to operate on the bottom row here during the opening. So I'll show you that on the screen. Grab over here. So if I go to page 1 of our ATEM, we've got these buttons right here, host on and host off. And so host on is going to do a few things. It's going to play that specific slide, that 2nd slide in ProPresenter. So it's based on the actual name of the presentation and the specific label that I gave that slide. So it has to be labeled exactly the Stream Host segment. Never change it, okay? And then when it releases, it's going to bring on air the camera, okay? So let's just push this button. I could push test over there, or I could just push host on, and it's gonna bring this camera on, and it's gonna play slide 2 of the countdown presentation, okay? Host on, it fades on, it moves our countdown up to here, and now our person is talking. We've got our scrolling announcements now that's being triggered by our slide notes, and this can be anywhere in the building because we're on a roaming camera. All right, so now they're talking, and we're directing and telling our camera person what to do, and now he's about to get done, and we're gonna press host off. So we press host off, and it goes back to the corner cam. That's just a wide shot showing the room kind of filling up and has the logo there. Again, let me show you what's happening there on host off. Essentially, it's the same thing. It's just playing the 3rd slide that I have labeled Stream Host done. And on release, it's making sure that this stays on air. The downstream key is still on air. And I believe it's just a cut. Oh, okay. It's setting the corner to preview and then performing the cut. Yeah, the auto transition actually. It's not cutting, it's doing auto. It's doing a dissolve of 1000 milliseconds. Okay. And so then at that point, our next button is opener. When we have that opener video that plays at the beginning of our service, all that this is doing is it's going to set up everything on a wide shot and kind of get things ready to go. So that way it makes sure that our black bars are on. Sometimes our guys can forget before we were doing this to turn on the lower thirds. So I'm just trying to automate things for our volunteers in here. So the countdown would play. Let's see, I'll just go ahead and see if I can play that. And then I'll go back here to my ATEM, and now I'm going to hit opener, and all that did was it put the wide shot on here. So now this is going to dissolve because it has an alpha channel, and it's going to be on a wide shot as soon as it pops open. So everything is going to have the wide shot. So the wide shot is not powered on currently. Sorry, the camera's not, but it would be on a wide shot automatically at that point. And now I'm talking, and now they're ready to go with directing. So that is how we're running things for our Stream Host segment. And if you want to take your graphic stuff even to the next level, you can incorporate something like H2R graphics with chat overlay that brings in the chat from your live streams, and then H2R layouts running on that same computer that you could move your cameras and everything around with the different graphics and pulling things around with super source layouts and chat overlays, and a very TV broadcast-esque probably a little much for what most of us are doing, but if you've seen like Elevation do things like this, that you could achieve similar results by utilizing a software like that, or Mix Effect via an iPad is another solution that I've seen. When it comes to video, you can use any camera, even any of your existing cameras if you'd like, but we really like our roaming camera setup, not only for during worship, but for our pre-stream hosting segments. It opens up so many possibilities for you to have freedom to do your stream hosting from different places in your building, or we've even done it outside in the snow, and so this setup is a Ronin SC with a GH5 and a 35-100. The key to make it wireless for us is the Teradek Ace 750, and we love this unit. It's great, 0 delay on the wireless signal. And then the Hollyland Tally. The reason that the Tally is great is because for your on-camera talent that is actually presenting, having the confidence to know that they're on live is great. Some setups I've seen actually have, like if you have a permanent setup out in your lobby, you could have a screen there for people to see. But we don't have that luxury. And so a Tally is great. Whoever's on camera can see when they're going live and when they're not. You can always do that just by a 3-2-1 with your camera guy, but there is some nice confidence that comes from having a Tally. So that is the video setup. You could also run like an NDI feed from a PTZ camera out in your lobby somewhere that's permanently set up and have that there every week. I just like the ability with the video to be able to show the room filling up or show the church filling up so that your people online can actually realize this is live. I've seen some churches do like this pre-recorded thing where it's like 10 minutes before the service and they're just giving announcements. To me, that's not quite as engaging. It's supposed to feel live, and next level would be able to interact with the comments on the stream. And so even the first thing you do as the pre-stream host, you're interacting with people and asking questions, just trying to get people engaged in the live stream. So with your video camera, having a roaming ability is great. It's not 100% necessary, but we love it. And if you haven't invested in a comm system yet for your camera operators and directors, we really still love the Ceramonic WeTalk system. We've used these now for a couple of years, and I've tested so many of these different systems, guys. And for the budget, I really, really like these. All right, let's talk about how you're going to get audio into your pre-stream segment. So my favorite way to do this is by utilizing a wireless handheld system that is going into your main board, whether that's your broadcast mixer, if you're doing a separate feed, or like us, you're just using a front of house send. So this is just an extra Shure SM58 pack that's going into one of our ULX systems that's piping into our X32. The key for this, at least in our instance, because we're not showing the pre-stream host segment in the room because we're typically doing it in the room, so that would be kind of weird. If we were out in the lobby, maybe we would show it in here. But the key for us is that this is not going into your mains. So you're going to disable this in your left-right output, or however you're sending that to your mains. But it is going into your live stream mix. So for us, we're doing a post-fader matrix mix that's combining some subgroups. So we're going to boost this microphone in the live stream mix, about 6 dB. And that way, this on-camera speaking mic now is only going to the live stream mix, and it also goes to our hallway feed. And so that's an easy way to get everything in sync and going to your broadcast mix. One other trick you could do is, if you don't have that ability, you could use any of the little lapel mics like a DJI or Rode or any of those that will go to a camera. And then whenever you take that camera live, you could also have the audio from that camera come in live and have it disable your audio from your normal broadcast feed. So you could have that be like a companion button that swaps that mix. And that way on your ATEM, it's saying take the camera audio from that, and it's going to be in sync with the camera feed, the video, but it's going to disable the other audio. What you lose a little bit with that is any of the room sound of like the environment. Now you might get a little bit of that with the lapel if you're out in an auditorium or a lobby or something like that. But we like to leave our audience mics on and going so you kind of get that vibe as you're coming in. But those are a couple of options you can do for your audio. So there you go. There's our process for how we do our pre-stream host segment. We've also done things where we have a thing called the deep end, where we do a post-service, kind of like, let's unpack the sermon and go a little bit deeper. We've even opened up a Zoom group session as well and had people jump into that, and not only had the chat with our live stream. So that's something else you could do. Let's say you're doing communion in the room live. You could also take this to a separate area in your building and do a person who's specifically doing a communion time with people online specifically. So I think having this ability and kind of thought through these processes really opens up a lot of options for us to be intentional with our live stream audience, with our congregation that's joining us online, because they're people, they're worshiping just like we are. And hey, if you're somebody who's made it to the end of this video, I want to offer you a 50% off discount on my live streaming course. It's called Next Level Live Streaming on a Budget. And I touch on this a little bit in that course, but there's 18 modules in there where I just talk about my process for taking your live stream to the next level. We've upped our YouTube engagement by 236% in this last year, and we continue to see growth and engagement and God blessing it and using it as a front door of our church. So grab that code. I'll put it on the screen right here, and let's just keep doing great things for God's glory. That's what it's all about. If you have any questions about this process or any thoughts or tips for me, drop those in the comments. Like this video and subscribe for more content like it. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next one.